speaking of overtime, the game shouldn't even have went to overtime because Billy Napier should have went for 2. How do you not go for 2 there? And one thing that's really embarrassing I didn't even think of, I saw a meme about this on Twitter, is I forgot Ohio State paid $20 million for a team. $20 million. It goes back to what I say, man. Winners win and losers lose. Can't make it up. Somehow, some way, a winner's always going to win, and somehow, some way, a loser's always going to lose. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope you're having a great Sunday. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And it is time for everybody's, or at least one of everybody's favorite video of the week. And there's no other than the Week 7 recap. I can't even believe those words just came out of my mouth, and it's sort of bittersweet. The Week 7 recap's already here. Guys, we're halfway through the season. I swear, it takes forever for football to come, and when it comes, you blink and boom, just like that, it's already over. But hey, we're not going to make this some sad video because we got to talk about all the great games that happened on Saturday. We had barn burners left and right, and if you didn't have YouTube TV and watching all 3 or 4 games at night, you just missed out. Those night games were something else with Ole Miss, LSU, Florida and Tennessee, and Oregon and Ohio State. We're going to talk all about those. Also at 11 a.m. you had Alabama struggling with South Kakalaki. What's going on there? Texas took care of business. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Oklahoma just didn't have enough to keep up with them. And USC, they blow a 20-6 lead. They had Penn State on the ropes, and yet again, Lincoln Riley somehow, someway finds a way to lose a game. By the way, here's your fun fact of the day. Lincoln Riley in his last 12 games is 4-8. Let me repeat that. Lincoln Riley in his last 12 games is 4-8. That is somewhat unbelievable. And we knew he was just an offensive guru at Oklahoma, but he was still going 9-3, 10-2, 11-1 every single season. For him to be 4-8 in his last 12, considering he had Caleb Williams in some of those games, it's shocking. And oh, wait a minute. You thought Georgia had a cupcake playing the worst team in the SEC? Just like Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend. The worst team in the SEC gave Big Bad Georgia at home a run for their money and put up a 31 burger. 31! Colorado gives K-State their best shot. Shadur Sanders plays out of his mind, but unfortunately they come up short. Cam Rising did come back for Utah on Friday night, and he played awful. It's time for Buddy to get a job because his college football career is all but over. And your Heisman frontrunner, and it's not even debatable or close, well, he does what he does. Many other things we're going to talk about, so strap in, buckle up, get you a snack, get your popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat and watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing, but alright, Matt, blah, blah, shut the crap up, now without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, first things first, let's start with our Friday game. Utah and Arizona State. Not going to talk about this too much, but shout out to Arizona State. They're sitting pretty at 5-1, but Utah, whew. Big disappointment this season. Utah's biggest problem, and it was their problem last year, is quarterback play. Cam Rising is officially back, and he was pathetic. 16 for 37, 0 touchdowns, 3 INTs. The Utah defense can only do so much. They have got to get a quarterback that's not named Cam Rising. I think that ship has sailed, but yeah, congratulations to Arizona State for that big win. At 11 a.m. Saturday, we didn't have a lot of great games, but we did have another barn burner that involved, guess who? Alabama. Alabama sneaks out, and when I say sneaks out, I mean sneaks out a 2-point victory at home over South Kakalaki. The loss to Vanderbilt is inexplicable, and we've already talked about that enough. But this one, it's about just as bad. Alabama, when Nick Saban was there, was known for, hey, if they're coming off of a loss, you don't want to play them because that's a pissed off Nick Saban-led ball team. And whoever played Alabama after they lost, you were in for a beatdown. And some people were hoping that's what would happen here. Kalen DeBoer would rally the troops, and they take care of business and win this game by 20, 25, 30 points. And everybody was looking forward to see how Bama was going to bounce back, and, well, they didn't bounce back. They just stayed flat the entire day. Jumped out to a 14-0 lead, and what do you know? They blow that just like that within the snap of a finger. And Alabama, for the second straight week, got outplayed. They were very fortunate that South Carolina messed up more than they did. At the end of the game, too, when South Carolina had a 2-point conversion, for those of you who didn't see it, I went back and watched film. Lenore Sellers just airmailed the pass. He had a guy wide open to tie up the game, and that would have sent to OT. But even after a 2-point conversion, Alabama muffs. They had like 3 guys that hit him in the chest, the onside kick, and South Carolina, well, they don't do anything with it. Alabama gets a game-stealing pick, and you could say, hey, well, the defense, they forced some turnovers if you want to look at it on the bright side. But in my humble opinion, there is nothing good to take away from this game if you are an Alabama fan. You can't even be optimistic. South Carolina had more first downs. They were better on third down, and also they had more total yards. And believe it or not, South Carolina had more passing yards than Alabama. Passing yards! Well, Lenore Sellers. It's so baffling to see an Alabama team get out and play like this. It is, because for the longest, if Alabama lost, it's because of some crazy trick plays and fluke plays. But no, Alabama is quite literally getting outplayed by teams like South Carolina and Vanderbilt, and I mean that respectfully. The offense is fine. They did have a couple of turnovers, but they did overcome those. I just don't understand why Bama, with two great running backs in Jalen Miller and Justice Haynes, aren't running the ball more. One of those guys next year is going to enter the portal because I'm fed up for them. I can't imagine how they feel. Every single game, Alabama's leading rusher is guess who? Jalen Milroe. And I'm not talking about just in yards. I'm talking about in carries. Jalen Milroe runs the ball more than the running backs. And hey, I'm all for that at times because it gives you an extra blocker, and he arguably is the greatest athlete in all of college football. But I think we can all agree this Alabama team is embarrassing, and they have no identity, and they got to do some soul searching. I'll put it to you like this. If they continue to play the way they've played the past couple of weeks, they're going to get blown out in the near future. I'm talking about they're not even going to compete with teams. They will get blown out. You keep playing with fire, and you're going to get burnt. I'll leave you with this. A win is a win. In the SEC, we know this. It's hard to win week in and week out. So if you want to look at it from that standpoint, sure, go ahead. I'm not trying to discredit Alabama's win. It's more so it's baffling to see how bad they've looked, especially coming off of that loss. Also at 11 a.m., shout out to Clemson taking care of business. Although Wake Forest ain't a great team, yeah, like I said, you did what you're supposed to do. You beat the crap out of them. I'll give you this argument. Alabama's supposed to be the crap out of South Carolina. They didn't do that, so you got to give some props and credit to Clemson. Moving on down here to our 2:30 games. Man, if Oklahoma even had an ounce of offense, they could have competed. I believe Oklahoma has a great defense. I do. But when your offense isn't scoring and you just continue to get the ball back, eventually that D is going to wear down. Shout out to the Oklahoma defense. I feel like, although they could have been slightly better, they did their part. It's the Oklahoma offense. They got to pick up the pieces. And moving forward, I don't even know what you do. I don't think this is a Michael Hawkins Jr. problem. This is a problem within the coaching staff and offensive coordinator. You've got to make some adjustments. And I know everybody's going to bring it up. I don't talk about it because everybody else does. They'll say it in the comment section. Oklahoma is missing about 5 of their wide receivers. But I feel like at this point in time, that's a scapegoat argument because once you get those back, there is no more excuses. Let's not act like this is Vanderbilt, okay? If they lose their top 4 or 5 wide receivers, yeah, they're not going to be as good. They don't have a lot of depth. We're talking about Oklahoma, an SEC school. They had depth. I ain't trying to sit here and tell you the backup wide receivers are as good as the starters, but this isn't a wide receiver problem. This is a coaching problem, a schematic issue. Oklahoma is halfway through their season, and they look dysfunctional on offense. They don't even look like they know what they're doing at times. The execution's terrible, and they got to fix that quick because if they don't, they will lose 2 or 3 more games this season. Credit to Texas, though. I had them winning this one easily, and they did just that. The only bad thing you can say about Texas in this game is Quinn Ewers did struggle early on, but I'm cutting the kid some slack because he ain't played in a month, and I figured he'd be rusty. I said it in the preview, and he was, so didn't shock me. Congratulations, Texas. Also at 2:30, we had Penn State, the Nittany Lions, in a dogfight with the USC Fighting Trojans. Even though USC was winning this game, I kept telling myself, nah. I think Penn State's going to pull it out, and they did. For those of you who watched the preview, I picked this upset. I had USC winning. I thought Miller Moss, he'd make more plays, and that USC defense is slightly underrated. But give credit to Drew Lauer. Yeah, he had 3 INTs, but he bounced back, and he was slinging that thing. Those 4-down conversions he got late in the game, if Penn State goes on to make the playoff or they have a really good season, that's what everyone's going to point back towards. Everyone's going to say, yep, those 4-down conversions, they saved us. And I don't know why it feels like Penn State upset USC. I guess it's because they were trailing. But let's not forget, USC's unranked for a reason. Penn State was supposed to win the game. Congrats to them. I think that's a very big win. And I saw some people saying, oh, well, they only beat them by 3. Dude, who cares? USC's a really good team in my opinion. I don't care if you beat them by 1 point or 20 points. Shouldn't be ashamed of that. Moving on down here, I believe this one kicked off at like 3:30, something like that. Mississippi State and Georgia. What happened? This game was wild. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mississippi State sucks. Like, I mean sucks. Toledo beat them by 30. Mississippi State is abysmal. And they put up 31 on Georgia. 31. This Georgia defense, I've been calling them great for the past couple of years. They ain't great anymore. I'm dropping them down to just good. They're not even really good. I'm dropping them from great to good. Mississippi State's freshman quarterback carved them up for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. A freshman. Carson Beck still has the interception problem. Sure, he had a lot of passing yards, but he's got to clean up the turnovers. You cannot win a national championship with your quarterback throwing 2 or 3 interceptions. And we talking about how bad Alabama's been struggling the past couple of weeks, but what about Georgia? We just let them off the hook? I'm going to remind you, Alabama, the team who has been struggling, beat Georgia. So what does that say about them? We probably need to talk about Georgia and Alabama in the upcoming weeks, so be on the lookout for that video. Georgia does get the win, though, but man, That is an ugly win, to say the least. Moving on down here to our night games, we got the little bro, Ohio State versus Oregon. And I can't believe Oregon won. I can't. All throughout that game, I felt like Ohio State was going to win. And at the end, Oregon pulls it out. So credit to them. And I'm happy for the Duck fans. For those who don't remember, they were getting slandered all year long at the beginning of the season. They were struggling with the fighting potato wedges, struggled with Boise State. Come to find out, Boise State is a pretty decent team, and now here they are, back where it's supposed to be. I have no idea where they're ranked. Y'all know I don't even look at the rankings till tomorrow when I post my reaction. I assume they're going to be at number 2. I'd be shocked if they put them ahead of Texas, but it doesn't matter. 2-1, you undefeated, control your destiny, and you beat Little Bro State. And if you're one of these people coming away from this game saying, oh yeah, Ohio State lost, they suck, dude, get out of here. Ohio State is a really good team, and they're going to go up in my rankings, so be on the lookout for that. You heard me correctly. Ohio State lost, and they're going up. This was a playoff game. 2 really good, maybe even great teams going at it, and this is what I love to see. I don't think you should hold Ohio State to the fire because they lost a super competitive game like this. Dylan Gabriel played out of his mind. Will Howard played out of his mind too, and it kind of sucks that people are going to forget about how good Will Howard played due to that last play. And hey, I already critiqued him for it. It's a bonehead decision. You got to be smarter than that. It was a back-and-forth game all night long. You even had Trayshawn Holden spinning on that dude. Like, come on, man. What are you thinking? That game was an actual barn burner and lived up to the hype. On the contrary, we got to bring it up. Ryan Day can't win the big game. It goes back to what I say, man. Winners win and losers lose. Can't make it up. Somehow, some way, a winner's always going to win, and somehow, some way, a loser's always going to lose. And I'm not going to give y'all a Ryan Day rant video. I'm sure I'll make that at one point in time throughout this season. But you know how I feel about him if you've been watching the channel. I stated after the first loss against Michigan, he should have been fired. And that happened, 3 years ago? So I'm not going to sit here and say, fire Ryan Day, fire Ryan Day. No, I've been saying it the past 3 years. I just accepted it and came to terms with reality that he ain't going nowhere, so I ain't going to keep saying it anymore. And it's not that I don't think Ryan Day's a bad coach. I think he's a really good head coach, but that's not the standard at Little Bro State. The standard is great/elite. He's not that. And one thing that's really embarrassing I didn't even think of, I saw a meme about this on Twitter, is I forgot Ohio State paid $20 million for a team. $20 million. And what's really bad for Ohio State is you ain't played anybody all year long outside of Oregon. In the one game against a semi-decent team, you lose. And speaking of that, somebody tweeted at me today, well, Matt, Ohio State actually played Iowa, and they're a really good team. I wish you could see my face. I'm rolling my eyes. Come on, man. Get the F out of here talking about Iowa, a really good team. I'm not even going to say anything about it. Anybody that states Iowa's a really good team, they just don't know what they're talking about. Iowa don't even have the dudes to compete with your big boys in college football, so just calm down with that argument. Anyways, like I was saying, Ohio State loses a heartbreaker. What's new? There's many more things I could say about the game, but I think that sums it up the best. Moving on down here. Whew, this was a game, and it always seems like it's a barn burner with these two. Ole Miss and LSU. I saw a stat somewhere on Twitter last night. This game lasted over 5 hours. From start to finish, it was close, and I can't believe LSU won. Ole Miss gifted in the game. They should have won it. Ole Miss just made so many mistakes, but even with those mistakes, that had LSU down to the final play. 4th and 5. If they stop them, they win, and Nussmeier throws a dime and a rope of a throw, whatever you want to call it, and LSU sends it to overtime, and they win on a walk-off play. It was the first play overtime. Throws it up to Kyler Lacey, and he does his thing. Nussmeier and Jackson Dart did not play their best. It was really up and down all night long for them. Just a really weird game to watch, but an entertaining game to watch. I hate it for Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss fan base. These are really hard to lose because when you felt like you outplayed them and you just gave them the game, you think about these games for years. On the flip side for LSU, like I said, you probably should have lost, similar to the South Carolina game, and you walk out of here with a win. That's the best feeling in the world when you don't play your best, feel like you probably should have lost, and you won. Congrats to LSU. They could easily be 3-3 right now, but they're 5-1 and control their destiny. Let's talk about old Tennessee and Florida. Tennessee, you are lucky. And when I say lucky, I mean lucky that Graham Mertz got hurt. I'm not going to say Graham Mertz was dicing up that Tennessee defense, but he wasn't having any problems with them. Florida was up 10-0 when he went out of the game, and the backup quarterback, DJ Lagway, you could tell, it was just a major drop-off. Tennessee got fortunate there, although Lagway had a very clutch throw at the end of the game to send to overtime. Speaking of overtime, the game shouldn't even have went to overtime because Billy Napier should have went for 2. How do you not go for 2 there? I was texting one of my buddies before they even scored a touchdown. I say, if you score, you got to go for 2. Florida couldn't even get a first down with DJ Lagway in there, so why would you take it to overtime knowing your defense is gassed, they're tired, and your offense is struggling? Makes 0 sense. You need 3 yards. Take the risk. I would have done it, and you sort of had some momentum there. Nobody's going to complain if you go for 2 on the road with a backup quarterback and don't get it. And for those of you who don't know, if your team isn't favored and you're the underdog, you should be going for 2. It's just normal practice. If I were to tell any head coach in the world right now, you need 3 yards to beat number 1 Texas, they take that in a heartbeat. If you get it, you win. If you don't, you lose. They say, yep, I like my odds there. It's not great odds, but it's better odds than sending it to overtime. And the same analogy can be applied here. Florida was not supposed to win this game. I just can't get over the fact he didn't go for 2. He lined up for 2. Tennessee didn't like what they saw, called a timeout, and then he sent out the field goal unit. And then in overtime, I mean, there's nothing to say. Florida, oh, what do you know? They lost 4 yards on 3 plays, kicked a field goal, missed. Didn't even matter because Tennessee scored a touchdown. Florida did Florida things, man. I am actually pissed off for the Florida fan base. You threw this game. As much as I say Ole Miss, they gave that game to LSU. No. Florida literally gave this game to Tennessee. In the first half, Florida had it 1st and goal on like the 2-inch line. They did a quarterback sneak with Graham Mertz and he fumbled. So that cost them 7 points right there. Then before half, they're rushing the field goal unit on, make the field goal, but guess what? It was like illegal formation, something like that. So the field goal got wiped off of the board because when he kicked it, there was 0 seconds left on the clock. And there was a penalty, so yeah, into half. Florida in the first half at bare minimum left 10 points on the board. Tennessee survives though, and as bad as Alabama has looked, Tennessee has surprisingly looked worse. And it's ironic because guess who they play next week? Alabama. They play each other. That's going to be the battle of the mid next week, Tennessee and Alabama. Nobody, and I mean nobody knows what's going to happen in that game next week. And here's what's even worse. Tennessee, in their last 2 first halves against Arkansas and Florida, haven't even scored a single point. And the reason I say Tennessee got lucky, Graham Mertz got hurt, because on one of DJ Lagway's first pass, I think it might have been his first pass, threw an interception right to Tennessee. Tennessee ain't no playoff team. Nico Iamaleava, he is struggling. He's arguably one of the worst quarterbacks. He might be the worst quarterback in the SEC right now. I can't believe I'm saying that, but he just don't look good. And last but not least, to cap off our amazing Saturday, it got better. We had another close one that ended at like 1 a.m. with Colorado. Shout out Coach Prime and K-State. Man, oh man, this was another great game. K-State walks out there with a win, and Shiloh Sanders, he probably shouldn't have been playing because he was getting cooked. I don't want to kick a man when he's down because he's been getting an earful of it on Twitter and social media, but he didn't play good. It was so bad, even his dad said in the postgame, oh yeah, he played horrible, and which he did. And it's not hate to say Shiloh played horrible. It's just evaluating what happened. Shiloh had a rough night, and K-State offense really couldn't be stopped. Shedeur Sanders, man, he just gets better and better every single week. He couldn't be stopped either outside of that 1 interception. The guy threw for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only had 6 interceptions. What's even more impressive about all of it is he had a man in his face all night long. He got sacked like 6 or 7 times. That running back for Kansas State, though, DJ Giddens, he's a beast. That guy was juking out people, spitting out people, running over people. He looked like a video game character. He looked like a human cheat code. And we hype up Ashton Genty. Well, DJ Giddens was playing like Genty against Colorado. K-State got a tough win, but I got to give credit to Colorado too. And I think other people, they're starting to turn the page on them. This ain't a bad team. I think they're a pretty solid team and good team. They could have easily won that game, and at the end of it, they were up 28-24. They were 1 stop away from winning the game. Avery Johnson threw a pick, got Colorado in nice position. Shedeur throws a touchdown, but Avery Johnson, kudos to him. He responded in a couple passes, and he threw like a 50-yard touchdown at the end of the game. Big win for K-State, devastating loss for Colorado, but all in all, I think those Colorado guys are happy with how they played. There's many more things I could say, but I want to hurry up and get this video uploaded for you guys. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But Roman.